Lance hit the blind corner while checking his phone and ran into a pair of men heading toward him. His phone fumbled in his hands and dropped to the concrete with a crack. "Watch where you're going, punk," one of the raggedly dressed men said with a raspy voice. Lance bent down and retrieved his phone from the sidewalk, then stared at the two homely men outfitted in smelly rags draped over scrawny frames. "That was my fault. I do apologize." Although Lance could take care of himself, he generally steered away from trouble and confrontations like the one before him. Fighting only brought additional trouble, and he already had plenty piled on his plate. Without giving the two men any more of his time, Lance slipped between them and went on his way. The screen on his phone had a crack in the glass that snaked from the middle of the device to the bottom. Great. Footfalls flanked him and gained quickly as he spied his car 15 feet ahead, parked at the curb. A hand grabbed at the strap of his satchel and tugged. Lance stopped and jerked his shoulder, then he twisted at the hips and spun around to face the two men stalking him. No threats or demands were given in exchange for Lance's life, just heated glowers from the two men who tried to strip the leather satchel from his arm. Lance held firmly to the bag, pinching his phone between his thumb and index finger as he tugged against the two men, who refused to let up. All three men grunted as they battled for control of the satchel. The pack had nothing of real value that Lance couldn't stand to lose, but he was tired of the depravity of folks robbing at will at a time when life was hard enough to live without adding such strife to it. The man to Lance's right pulled a knife and slashed at the straps of the satchel where Lance's hands held onto the strap. He missed the satchel and sliced through Lance's shirt near his upper arm. His partner pivoted and jerked relentlessly on the pack, then lunged forward and drove Lance back hard into the brick wall of the building next to them. Cars drove by on the side street and went about their business, their passengers unwilling to interfere with the mugging that was going down. Lance lost his grip on the phone and dropped it onto the concrete as an arcing right cross clipped the side of his face and caught the edge of his nose. It was a weakly thrown punch, but it was enough to scramble his senses. The satchel slipped down the length of Lance's arm to his wrist. The man wielding the knife drew his arm back as if to gut Lance. Before he could volley an attack, Lance kicked him in the groin, catching the attacker with the top of his shoe. In an instant, the mugger ceased attacking, dropped the knife, then cradled his privates. He stumbled backward and collapsed to the walkway while panting and grunting. His partner diverted his gaze for a half-second, giving Lance a chance to end the attack. He cocked his free arm back, then yanked on the satchel, disrupting the standing mugger's balance. Lance launched a hard jab that landed on the mugger's nose. The meaty thump of bone hitting the cartilage ended the fight and sent the mugger reeling, his hands palming his face. Lance puffed his chest and secured the satchel over his shoulder while staring both men down. His nostrils flared and his brows slanted inward as blood pumped hard through his system. Defeated and unwilling to attack again, the muggers turned tail and high-footed it down the sidewalk toward the intersection, where they cut around the wall and vanished from sight. After picking up the phone, Lance checked the time on his watch. He had less than 10 minutes to make it to work and was doubtful that was going to happen.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.